Yeah, so this is Joel from Kisschasy, just getting together here with Kris, talking about the upcoming tour in May this year.
Beautiful, Joel. Thanks for joining us this afternoon, brother.
No problem, mate. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So, as you say, Kisschasy have announced a special reunion tour of Australia starting on May the 4th in Brisbane before heading to Adelaide, Perth, Canberra, Sydney, Newcastle, Melbourne, finishing in Hobart on May the 20th. So, that's a decent run of shows, mate. You're not messing around.
It is. It sort of kept on creeping up too, as very luckily a lot of the shows have been selling out. So we've either increased venue sizes or added extra shows. So we've Darren lives in LA now, so we've only got him for a set amount of time. So we thought we'd absolutely flog the hell out of him on tour and make sure he earns his keep.
Why not? And like you say, man, tickets have been selling extremely well. Like you've had to add the Hobart gig at the last minute. You've had a second Melbourne show already added to cater for demand. Like it must be a good feeling, mate, to be away for so long and know that people still give a fuck.
Yeah, it's really surreal, man. It's actually up to a third Melbourne show now, which is wild. So yeah, I think half of the being away for so long is why we're able to sort of do this and why we're able to sort of reconnect with everyone in such an engaging way. But you know, if we turned up every year, I don't think it'd be quite the same. So it's lucky for us, and hopefully everyone's able to come out and enjoy it.
Yeah, and the seeds were sort of sown when you played at last year's Good Things Festival, bro. So had you already decided before that shows, or you already decided before those shows that this tour was going to happen, or did those shows sort of more get the juices flowing again?
Yeah, this tour was actually sort of slated originally for 2020. So it was the 15-year anniversary of our first record. And promoter sort of came to us with the idea of touring on that record. So how it all started, obviously we all know what happened from early 2020, things moved, shifted, cancelled, rescheduled. During the process, Good Things reached out and must have heard that we were talking about doing some touring. So they sort of came into the discussion and offered us to do the festival, which we were really grateful for. It was a really fun time. And yeah, so we were sort of straight off the back of that, we're able to announce the tour, which is a really good, long lead time, and it's been yeah, a bit of a whirlwind since then.
And this is going to be your first national tour in 8 years, bro. So you're physically and mentally ready for it. It's not an easy thing these days.
No, I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying. I try and keep active-ish. As long as we behave, we'll be okay. It's just we can't. Got to try not to step back into how we used to be. You know, 10 years ago touring. There was a lot younger gentlemen back then, so I think we'll be okay. The guys, everyone sort of looked after themselves to a point. Darren, I don't think will have played this many shows in a very long time, so he'll be nursing his voice, I'm sure. But we've set in a way sort of as much as possible, and like I said, we get a few days off, 3, 4, or 5, so we should be. We're looking forward to it.
Well, I'm going to give you 3 shows, mate, before the adrenaline kicks in and his head goes straight back to being teenage kids again. On the
We'll see. The first weekend's a bit of a doozy, so it's what do we got? 6 shows in 6 days across 5 states.
Nice.
So yeah, we'll see how we go.
Well, so big thing, I guess, mate, is what can fans expect from these shows, mate? Is it going to be what they normally thought they'd get from you back in the day, or you've got a few surprises in store?
We've got a little bit going on. So obviously at Good Things, we just did the United Pagan People record from start to finish. Obviously now we have the opportunity to dig a bit deeper into the catalogue. So we've got we're just literally wrapping up discussions at the moment over email about the set list, and there's some songs from one of our first EPs tucked in there. Potentially a cover in there. So yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag, eclectic mix. So yeah, you have to get along and see what we pull out of the memory banks.
Oh, so a bit of a trip down history lane here, bro. Like Kisschasy formed in Melbourne back in 2002, man. So what was the musical climate like back then that gave birth to the band, and where did you fit in initially?
It was, I'm going to say, different. So we were all basically just punk kids. 2002, I would have been 20. So it was all about, it was obviously digital music, pre-Spotify, all those things. We used to just go to gigs. That's how we all met, was going to sort of punk shows. And basically we just once we sort of got together and got the band together, we would just hassle people for gigs, turn up at gigs, hassle the bands that were there, see if they'd give us a spot, bring CDs that we'd burnt at home ourselves, give them to anyone we could find, which is sort of how we crept our way with our initial record deal with Below Par. And from there, just sort of inched and inched and inched. It was the very old school, traditional way of becoming a touring band, I think, you know, making no money for years, grinding it out, driving overnight from Brisbane to Melbourne, whatever it was. Sort of, which, you know, I love a minute of it at the time. Like, it could be a grind, but to reflect back on now, I'm glad we got to run that way.
Yeah. And look, you managed to endear yourselves to the Australian music-loving public pretty quickly, man. Like, do you put that down to good luck, to good timing, to good music, to the fact that you're good blokes, like combination of all of it?
I'd like to think it's a combination of all of it. I'm not 100% sure, but we were really lucky. Somehow, I can't put my finger on why or how we managed to do it, but obviously we had some really good support from independent, like Triple J play, but then we also managed to straddle and get a bit of support from commercial radio as well. So not a lot of bands, especially at that time, were able to do that. So to straddle those two fences gave us a really wide audience to hear our music. So I think that was sort of part of the reason we were able to sort of get our foot in the door a bit sooner than most. But I don't know why we were in that position.
And you announced the band would be disbanding in July of 2015, mate. So at that stage, was it planned to be a permanent thing, or were you leaving things a bit open-minded?
No, it was pretty planned. Like, we haven't written any new music or anything. We basically got to a point where we'd all diversed. Part of the thing that made us us was that we do have separate musical influences, but I think that the gap between those was growing as we all grew as people. So to a point where the gap was too wide to close, I think, in writing music, and was only going to potentially go backwards. So we sort of saw that creeping up on us and decided that we'd like to leave with friendships and music intact, and just sort of gracefully step away. I call it gracefully, but people look at it however they will. And that's, look, to be 100% honest, we haven't spoken about it any other way, and that's still probably the case from a music perspective. We still obviously have songs we create together, which is why we're able to get out and do these shows.
And as you say, man, like Kisschasy haven't released any new music since 2009, yet your music still remains popular and relevant to this day, man. Like, what do you think that is? Like, a lot of bands don't put music out for that long, and they just sort of seem to be going through the motions, but you guys seem to have made that lasting connection.
Yeah, I wish I could put my finger on it because it applied to business. But look, I think there's certainly something to be said for nostalgia. When I think back to my parents, the music they listened to during their formative years, let's call it 18 to 25, was the music that they still listened to when they were 60. I'm certainly the same. I dress the same way. I'm nearly 40, but I dress the same way as when I was 25, and I listen to basically the same music. So I think there's something to be said for that. And whilst I think it's a bit unfortunate the way music's gone with the digital side of things, it certainly has made listening to people more accessible as one of the positives. And it's a lot easier now to just be at a friend's house and go, I haven't listened to Gyros for fucking years, let's stick them on, rather than have to go dig through your 3,000 CD collection and try and find, you know what I mean? But that side of things, I think, has let people access music from 10, 15 years ago a lot easier, and has sort of helped keep bands like us a little more relevant than perhaps we may have been.
Yeah, cool. All right, Joel, well, thanks very much for your time today, mate. The reunion tour kicks off in Brisbane on May the 4th. So where can people find out more about the show and get themselves some tickets?
Yeah, mate, all the socials is the place to go. All the details, ticket links, etc. for the shows are still available on Instagram, Facebook, and through SBM Music. So, yeah, get out there.
Sweet as, bro. Well, I happen to live in Brisbane where the whole shenanigans are kicking off, mate. So I'm going to come down and do my best to put you off track on the first show instead of the third.
Beautiful. Love it.
All right, mate. Take care, bro. Thanks for your time, man.
Kris, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it.
All right, brother. Catch you soon.
Take care, mate. Bye.